Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for joining. Give you co-host, Prabhu.
Can I start already?
1 minute. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much for your association. Thank you, dear devotees, for joining us. So we'll start. Yes, Prabhuji, you can take over.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, and it's always wonderful to discuss Srimad Bhagavatam in the Assembly of Vaishnavas. It's a great fortune that we are all blessed to be part of this bhakti movement and under the direction of Srila Prabhupada. So we'll offer some prayers and take his blessings and discuss. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Ashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yenam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaham Namaham Vishnu Padayam Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we are discussing the topic of uncovering the signs of punishments, and we are definitely needing to understand how are we going to make progress in Krishna consciousness, and how we need to be careful in our choices, priorities, and also our interactions with others and our response to situations. So in our discussion to this topic, we already had few reflections. We'll just do a quick recap of them. Please pardon me, I have not fully done with the notes for today to be presented as a PPT. We will use whiteboard to discuss certain points, and then I will share the notes to you all on the group. So the discussions that we had so far, we had around 7 points. Number 1 is about to reduce pain to punishment is to underestimate the Lord, where we were discussing how it is important that Krishna is trying to take us way beyond giving us pain and eventually trying to transform us and somehow get us back to Him. We discussed about 5 reasons of our suffering, discussed about types of people, how one deals with his or her mistakes. We discussed how Krishna consciousness is a joyful process and there is no laws whatsoever. And we discussed last week about the topic of dharma, righteousness. We discussed this topic about preliminary qualities of a civilized person from Bhishma's instructions. And we also spoke about adharma, irreligiosity. So when we are discussing this topic, we need to understand this whole concept of discussion on punishments is having implication on our action, implication on our thoughts, implication on our eventually our goal and what we call as our ultimate purpose for which we are trying to, So if our actions are wrong even in the grossest level, because in materialistic condition, our actions are the based on any punishments or reward is generally based on actions. Nobody analyzes what your intentions would have been. General in a gross materialistic sense. If I've done an action, I've given some reward or punishment. So just by an external action, our reward or punishment is decided. In the Krishna conscious journey, when I am trying to become the practicing devotee, or I am trying to get myself involved in Krishna consciousness and trying to learn spirituality, our attitude is defined. Basically, based on our bhava, based on our attitude, based on how our intentions are, our actions are slowly, given less importance, even though actions do matter, but more importance is given to our intentions. If my intentions are okay, then I am, forgiven, given another chance. I am trying to, be given some advantage because his intention is not to, or he's a practicing devotee. So let us give him, some other alternative. In the materialistic realm, we are not dealt with respect to our, anything else. It's purely action. Now, when we become a serious practitioner, or when we go a little further, apart from intentions and attitude, which is very important, which eventually takes into what kind of sentiments, what kind of emotions, what kind of goal that I have for my life. Srila Prabhupada writes that ultimately our sentiments and emotions associated with this process to, make sure that I am interested in pleasing Krishna and being an instrument in Krishna's hands. That's the goal of life. At the end of the day, realizing that I am just servant of Krishna and eventually my life entirely dedicated for pleasing Krishna and trying to be instrument in his hands. That's an ultimate goal of life. In fact, Acharyas are explaining that going back home, back to God is glorious, but one step, to add on top of that is, I am ready to go anywhere for the pleasure of the Lord, for the service of the Lord. Even if the Lord is sending me to a different kind of service, so I am ultimately interested in pleasing Krishna. Nija Indriya Preeti Kama, Krishna Indriya Preeti Prema. So the goal of life is Krishna Indriya Preeti. So that is pure devotional service. So we are stuck in between. We meaning those of us who are practicing devotees, who are not completely in the materialistic scenario, those who are not fully realized the pure devotional service, we are in between. And for us, we are tussled between actions and influences of this materialistic scenario, vis-a-vis trying to migrate ourselves to transcendental consciousness. And the biggest stumbling block for us is this one aspect which we spoke earlier, is this ego. So our Prabhupada Uvacha today, our prayer from Srila Prabhupada, this instructions from Srila Prabhupada that we usually, try to reflect upon, is from Bhagavad Gita, verse 3.27, famous verse. Prabhupada makes a profound statement there. Prakriti kriyamanani gunahi karmani sarvasaha ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. The bewildered spirit soul, under the influence of the three modes of material nature, thinks himself to be the doer of activities which are in actuality carried out by nature. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that the person in material consciousness is convinced by false ego that he is the doer of everything. He does not know that the mechanism of body is produced by material nature, which works under the supervision of the Lord. And further in the purport, right, that the ignorant man forgets that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is known as Rishikesha, or the master of senses of the material body, for due to his long misuse of senses and sense gratification, he is factually bewildered by the false ego, which makes him forget his eternal relationship with Krishna. So, this first reflection in our today's learning, because we ended with irreligiosity. We discussed about 5 different types of adharma and how our actions, our decisions, even though apparently may appear, wonderful, glorious, or whatever that may be, we are somehow or other confused, especially those of us who have got their legs in 2 boats. So our one boat, we have already made up that much decision that we have to become Krishna conscious, or we are definitely interested in being Krishna conscious. So one leg is on that boat, which is, going towards that direction of Krishna consciousness. But the other leg is in the boat of Kali, Maya, materialistic consciousness. So we have a situation of being, wobbly. So we keep wobbling, we keep tottering. We keep shaking, because sometimes we get swayed towards this direction, sometimes we get swayed towards other direction. So it is important for us to, because there are 2 words that that are completely affecting us in this. One is about our ignorance, about which we will speak in a bit, and second is the words that that Srila Prabhupada has explained here about the ego. That is why the word ego, E-G-O, can be explained as edging God out. A person who is somehow not handled this part, so then somehow this quality of ego will somehow delete us from the consciousness of Krishna. So my first point that I want to try to drive home here is about the important aspect for a person to watch out for, which will make him swing either way. The important aspect that we need to remember that if we are not trying to be careful about our quotient of ego, and if we are not going to be careful of how much we are trying to put our efforts in coming out of our ignorance, the punishments and the rest of the course of journey is definitely going to be affected. So the first reflection is about this aspect of ignorance and ego. If you remember our first reflection, out of the 5 sufferings, the first 2 are ignorance and false ego. We will be talking about all of them. We are slowly drilling down, getting into the details. So Srila Prabhupada writes in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, in terms of this ignorance and ego, what is the correlation? I may give the reason of my so-and-so materialistic status, materialistic action, materialistic decisions, and that I justify for every action of mine. So one is cause and another is an effect. We can say that because Prabhupada says in the purport here, in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the person in false ego takes all credit for doing everything independently, and that is a symptom of his nescience. So nescience, ignorance, darkness, one's stupidity. So he says the person in false ego. So one is a cause and another is an effect. And the more we are in ignorant state, the more we are, in the state of darkness, the more we are at risk. So for that, 5th canto Srimad Bhagavatam very nicely explains this particular scenario. That what happens that if a person is in ignorance, I will just read that portion. This is from 5:26:3 translation. Just as by executing various pious activities, one achieves different positions in heavenly life, by acting impiously, one achieves different positions in hellish life. So typically we are now getting into the details of different types of punishment. We are going to talk about that today. So what Sukadeva Goswami is trying to explain, Sukadeva Goswami explain is those who are activated by the modes of ignorance engage in impious activities. Those who are activated by the modes of ignorance engage in impious activities, and according to the extent of their ignorance, they are placed in different grades of hellish life. The reason this is picked up today is to understand the severity of our punishment in the stage of ignorance. So if one acts in the mode of ignorance because of madness, his resulting misery is the least severe. One who acts impiously but knows the distinction between pious and impious activities is placed in a hell of intermediate severity. And for one who acts impiously and ignorantly because of atheism, the hellish life is the worst. Because of ignorance, every living entity has been carried by various desires to thousands of different hellish planets since time immemorial. So, ignorance cannot be the reason for us to be excused. There is a saying in English, ignorance is bliss. Meaning, so long as I don't know, I am, comfortable, or I'm kind of in a state of being relaxed. But here Sukadeva Goswami is going to explain to Parikshit Maharaj 28 different types of hellish planets. So the idea here is that the first reflection that I want to focus today on is about the ignorance versus false ego. Because ignorance versus false ego is the differentiating factor between action versus thoughts. If you remember our point just we mentioned that action, thoughts, and the goal. So my actions are completely, if I'm in materialistic context, I'll be only focusing on action. In the professional environment, nobody, in our perform an appraisal or any other conversations, they'll say what action you did. The court of law, what action you did. Intentions are very, least analyzed. Maybe they are in a very trivial situation, they may be taken into account. But otherwise, in general, your actions are just, if you've done an action, you are, given punishment or reward. So the point Prabhupada is trying to explain in the Bhagavad Gita verse is that somehow or other, if we get into the understanding of the science of spirituality, Krishna consciousness, then we have a hope. That's why Prabhupada says, if somebody has not understood about Hrishikesha, forgets about the Supreme Lord as Hrishikesha, then he goes towards the zone of false ego and eventually edging God out. He is slowly going to send God out of his personal life, and he is going to be, in the center of his life and suffer. So this verse talks about, number one, ignorance out of madness. What is out of madness? Ignorance out of madness is because of conditioning, because of association, because of some temporary fallen into some situation, because of our own, craziness, that because of extended association with matter. So if one acts in the mode of ignorance because of madness, whatever we are discussing now, this is pretty much, about anyone who is in the mode of ignorance. Sometimes we as practicing devotees, we are also going to the mode of ignorance. But as a disclaimer, I want to say, these hellish planets descriptions are meant for those who do not surrender to Krishna. Devotees are dealt differently, so we will come to the devotees part of it in a bit. But today, because we are discussing about this entire topic, I just want to say that this agenda of hellish planets, hellish life, punishments, in this connection is referring to all those who are not surrendered to Krishna. If anyone has surrendered to Krishna, and then they have, voluntarily by choice do some mistakes, we are going to get there. There are relations. So we are going to start from this 28 different hellish life, which is most grossest, direct response to our action and reaction. And we are going to slowly build. There are going to be 8 different types of punishments in 3 different classifications that we are going to discuss. So the idea is that they are all given under the title punishment, but some of them are actually purification, transformation. The word of punishment here should not be, directly used as a reference when it comes to Krishna consciousness. Because in Krishna consciousness, the word punishment is purely meant for purification. So coming back to here, the ignorance, if somebody is in the mode of ignorance out of madness is, it's like a situational, it is not something that we are, it's a planned activity. It could be somebody's conditioning. So this is for everyone in this world. This is for us to teach our children. This is for us to teach our society at large why modes of material nature is important. Recollect our first classes, first point, where Prabhupada explains from Nectar of Instruction, one's first duty is to elevate one from the platform of ignorance and passion and come to this mode of goodness. So Krishna consciousness focus is also, last week's point of dharma's focus is also, and today's first point's focus. So we are constantly trying to address one agenda, that we are not swinging towards ignorance. We are not swinging towards actions in the mode of ignorance. We are not swinging towards association in the mode of ignorance. Because ignorance and false ego are two sides of the same coin. Because of false ego, you are trying to commit acts which are, offensive, and you are punished. And the reason of them is because of your association with the mode of ignorance, tamasic guna. So this ignorance is something that we need to address. So Prabhupada is saying, or the Sukadeva Goswami is saying, that the severity of punishment for such scenario is mild. But then, if I know the difference between pious and impious activities, if I know to differentiate, that parinama lakshanaha, the result, the symptoms of the results of such impious desires. So if I know to differentiate, if I know that I have, these are all pious activities, these are all impious activities, and still, if we are continuing to stay in the mode of ignorance, then the punishment is intermittently severe. The third classification is, because of, if anyone acts impiously and ignorantly, because of atheism, because of not having God consciousness, not having proper understanding of spirituality, religiosity, God consciousness, so then he is punished the worst. Why? Because atato brahma jignasa. So we are meant to ask questions. As human beings, our agenda is to ask questions. We are supposed to, question the question every action that we do. If we do not question, then we will have a problem. So my first reflection that I want to, register here is, as a practicing devotee, we need to know and we need to be careful. Those who have surrendered to Krishna, what we are discussing is a warning, and this is not something that is imposed upon a practicing devotee unless he completely, switches his spirituality off and become some sort of a debauchee. Even then, his little surrender that you would have had, Krishna will keep trying and bless him. But the most important aspect of it is the modes of material nature, about which Krishna is very elaborately explaining that how this universe is functioning. The modes of material nature, which is the governing principle of everybody's actions and reactions, karma, akarma, vikarma, and religiosity, irreligiosity, ignorance, false ego, they are all, the ingredient of them is, maybe whatever, maybe the underlying factor is that modes of material nature is the governing one. So I want to conclude my first reflection by saying that ignorance and false ego are two sides of the same coin. And if we are a surrendered devotee, then our attitude is given more weightage than our action. I mean, our actions are definitely to be focused on, but attitude is something that we need to, that we are given benefit. Bhavagrahi Janardana. So, because we are surrendered to Krishna, Krishna treats us differently, even though our actions may be swinging towards different modes, but because our intention. Viswanatha Chakravarti Thakura writes very profoundly, he says that a person who is surrendered to Krishna, who is trying to practice Krishna consciousness, even though his actions may be apparently, compromised, even though his actions may be not something that is very appreciable, but because his consciousness-wise is properly situated, is given a credit. Even in that verse, Apichet Sudurachara verse, Srila Prabhupada writes, even Krishna says. So we have some interesting conversations ahead for practicing devotee, but at least because we are touching this topic, let us address the first rung, which is about those who are not surrendered to Krishna, and those who have no sense of religiosity, and those who have, taken human life as a option for enjoyment. So this is a warning. This may be some of our family, this may be some of our friends, this may be society, and this is also something for us to know why, as practicing devotee, we need to be having mercy towards them. Why we need to be having daya, why we need to be having some sort of a kindness towards those suffering souls, because we know they are going to suffer. This para, dukkha, dukhi conversation is something that needs to kick in now, because if we are not going to be kind upon themselves, Bhagavatam is clearly saying what the trajectory is. And hence the 3 severity levels were discussed. And if you see, ignorance, I cannot say at any point in time that I never knew. So as a parent, as an adult, as a well-wisher, let's encourage our children, let's encourage our next generation to have a sense of asking relevant questions towards understanding the science of this life. Because we are asking so many questions about the existence of God, about the spirituality, about practices, but we forget to ask the fundamental basic question about who am I, what is my relationship with God, and basic questions like that. So this is my first reflection. The second reflection is, based on this ignorance, false ego combination, a very important topic that Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita is about karma, akarma, and vikarma. So the reason why we are discussing this karma, akarma, vikarma is those actions that we are, doing, how are they going to have an impact on our things? So we will quickly, you all are, qualified devotees and who know this topic, but it's important for us to, talk about this, touch upon this now. So karma, as we all know, is because many times we get to hear, I get to hear, so it's because of my karma, sir, because of my past, because of my past, because of my past. So we are writing that, script because of our actions. We are writing that script because of our, intentions. We are writing the script because of our, intentions or the goal of life that we choose. So karma are prescribed activities enjoined as per one's nature. Srila Prabhupada is giving a very simple definition about this. Karma, akarma, and vikarma are very clearly described in Bhagavad Gita. Actions that are performed in terms of one's prescribed duties, as mentioned in the revealed scriptures, are called karma. Actions that free one from the cycle of birth and death are called akarma. And actions that are performed through the misuse of one's freedom and that direct one to the lower life forms are called vikarma. So the idea here is that a person who is not careful about utilizing of his independence. So since we are on this topic, let's slightly, go a little detail on karma, karma, vikarma as a reflection. So this karma is further classified into three types or three things. One is called nitya karma. Second is called kamya karma. Third is called emergency, duties. So nitya karma are something that your daily routines, and in nitya karma only we are swinging between auspicious and inauspicious activities. Sometimes we, because of our routine, because especially all of us as grahasthas, so we are stuck into doing certain things for our existence. So what happens is that when we are not careful about them in our nitya karma, so we will be dragged towards different modes. So anyway, so karma, nitya karma is your daily routines. Second is kamya karma. This is very important for everyone to know, that what you desire and you work towards your desired activities. So as practicing devotee, that borderline this is the borderline. If I am interested in Krishna consciousness and moving forward, I just need to focus on the desire level beginning. With just desire, that Krishna facilitates. And once I'm in Krishna consciousness, if I desire for materialistic things, Madhurya Kadamini says, even your materialistic things are fulfilled. So be very careful on what you are desiring. So there is going to be an outcome for that. And third is emergency duties. This is karma. And vikarma is about capricious actions or actions without sanction of authority. We just read it. And in terms of our karma, it's very interesting that Srila Prabhupada says that actions that free one from the cycle of birth and death. So this our karma could as well be somebody not doing one's own prescribed duties also. So one who is trying to evade. So in Bhagavad Gita, in the second chapter, Krishna is very importantly trying to address Arjuna about his Sakama Karma Yoga, Nishkama Karma Yoga. In that context, Krishna is explaining to Arjuna that please understand, you evading your prescribed duties, so will be, you will be responsible. You will be named. People will name you. That see, people like Arjuna didn't do that action. You will eventually get sins. So Arjuna not fighting is one kind of an inaction. So my second reflection that I want to state here is that our punishments and reward is also based on karma, akarma, vikarma. So vikarma is definitely you are punished in some capacity. And with respect to karma, we are either punished or rewarded, depends upon which way, which types of action. Because sometimes you may be doing according to the law of the land, but you'll not be able to do action under the law of the Supreme Lord, law of the Lord. I may be doing all the things that according to the governmental norms, but you may not do things according to our defined spiritual quotients, okay, religious norms, against our responsibilities towards our spirit soul and our super soul. that relationship we are not going to work on that, then we are punished also. And a third is something that emergency duties that are understandable. So, as a part of understanding this, Krishna explains that if anyone he is trying to perform action, but he is not attached to the results of them. So he is trying to say that a karma, which is an action, which is an activity that we are trying to perform, but if that action is done with proper knowledge, if the action is done with proper understanding that Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, so it is this is explained in Bhagavad Gita, so very nicely. So I'll just read a verse from Bhagavad Gita. This is from chapter 4, text number 19 or something like that. Yasya sarve samarambha kama sankalpa varjita jnanagni dagda karmanam tamahu panditam buddha. One is understood to be in full knowledge, whose every endeavor is devoid of desire for sense gratification. He is said by sages to be a worker for whom the reactions of work have been burned up by the fire of perfect knowledge. So there are 4 points for us to remember. Number one who engages in all activities. Yasya sarve samarambha means one who engages in all activities. But kama sankalpa varjita means, but he is devoid of sense enjoyment. He is not having any desire for sense enjoyment. He is not interested in any kind of sense enjoyment. Jnanatmi dagda karmanam. One who has burned up all reactions of work just by being properly situated. That is why this Divya Jnana, this knowledge, this science of Krishna consciousness is our savior. So Krishna is explaining this as inaction in action. Inaction in action meaning that even though you are performing an action, because you have not signed up for the resultant reaction, people are saying that okay, sages call him as tamahu panditam buddha. Great sages call such a person as learned. On the contrary, if one is trying to be in full knowledge and try to perform action impiously, one who is fully aware about the results of one's actions and reactions and is still committing the actions that are not allowed, that are committing abominable actions, then he is severely punished. So the vikarma, which is against somebody's understanding. So basically, I try to perform an action which is against the Supreme Lord, against the knowledge imparted to me, against the moral code of conduct, against my constitutional nature. So then naturally I am going to be punished. So this is the second. So we have all the concepts surrounding the punishments or base concepts are being touched upon. We spoke about 5 reasons for suffering, to religiosity, to adharma, to modes of material nature, and karma, vikarma. The third reflection is about something that Srila Prabhupada, talks about in this, same context. So Srila Prabhupada is there's a book called Laws of Nature. In that, Srila Prabhupada is, explaining a very interesting aspect of it. He's saying that the nature of this material world is so complex that people get confused and try to think himself as controller, trying to think himself as the Bhagavan, because as human beings when human being has seen creatures inferior to him, he starts to consider himself as superior because he can do something better. And for that, Prabhupada is explaining about 5 different aspects of it through a statement called Pavarga. He says that the material existence is explained through this 5 words: Parishram, Fena, Bandhan, and Bhaya and Mrityu. Pa, pa, ba, bha, ma. So Prabhupada says that we all, not knowing, because of our conditioning in our action, we do so much of parishram, so much of hard labor, so much of materialistic, engrossed activities, that we work to our neck level to an extent that we do not have any time for ourselves. So this hard labor that Srila Prabhupada is, saying is like that of an animal. You work so hard for a limited advantage. So one Prabhupada disciple was very nicely explaining that for that which is anyway obviously going to be available for us, we're working hard. So he was trying to say that doing a hard labor, it is like running inside a running train. The train is going in any direction, or you're already in the train, whether it's the right train or wrong train. You're running inside the running train, thinking that I will reach my destination faster. By running into the running train, you are not going to reach any destination faster. It's just a hard labor. It's just a, shrama eva hi kevalam. And if we do that, parishram leads to fena, foam. So, Prabhupada says that due to envious people finding fault in others, trying to work hard, trying to make my existence prove a point, our mouth gets dried up, or our mouth gets, filled with such form, like how animals, when they work hard, when cow work hard or anybody work hard, the horse work hard, they get foam. So the hard labor's natural outcome is fena, and the natural outcome of that is bandhan. Bandhan is bondage. We are naturally in some sort of this is mine, that is mine. We are constantly trying to identify themselves as mine. And that bondage leads to fear. That once I am bonded, once I am trying to be attached to that, then I am constantly in a fear of losing them. And finally, it leads to mrityu. So my third reflection is to, say that in our devotional life, We need to be careful about this propensity. Sometimes we are so confused because we have this multiple personality disorder, because we have this situation of being in multiple zones in a single day. Suddenly in the morning, we will be in the most transcendental state of, ecstasy. And slowly, as the day progresses, our consciousness drifts towards other modes because of us not being firmly situated in our Krishna consciousness. So this is my third reflection about Pavarga and Apavarga. The Apavarga part, which Srila Prabhupada says, the solution to this is, the immediate result of this is that when somebody takes into Krishna consciousness, the immediate awareness, Krishna Surya Saman Maya Harantaka. As soon as God consciousness is brought in, that is why sadhakas or those who are in Krishna consciousness, they have some edge over others because they're already coming towards light. They're already coming towards, so we are all a little bit safe because one leg is in that boat, which is to go into Krishna. But the risk for us is when both the boats are tottering, there's a possibility that suddenly we may lift that leg from Krishna's boat, thinking that I will later catch that boat, let me go to this boat because I have to solve this problem now. So then we have, then we have a pretty concerning situation. So our whole agenda of discussing this point in this context here is that as practicing devotees, we have half done agenda. One leg is in Krishna's boat. And sometimes we have both the legs in Krishna's boat, but suddenly we get some little restlessness. So we jump back to, this other boat. So we keep shifting between both these boats. And that's the nature of anishtita bhajana kriya. Because we are doing bhajana, we are all doing bhajana. We are all practicing Krishna consciousness. But that bhajana is on bit shaky grounds. That bhajana is on bit, wavering grounds. So that is why Krishna is explaining in the Bhagavad Gita, Mam yevaye prapadyante mayam etam tarapite. If they surrender unto me, if they come to me, then they can easily handle those wobbly situations. So my third reflection is about Pavarga and Apavarga. Apavarga means the opposite of that. And the interesting part is, those who are practicing devotees, their actions are, Srila Prabhupada writes in the beginning of that, purport, 3.27 purport, two persons, one in Krishna consciousness and the other in material consciousness, working on the same level, may appear to be working on the same platform, but there is a wide gulf of difference in their respective positions. That's how he begins this point. So hence, we need to make sure that we are on the, at least side towards going to Krishna, and let us have some concern towards our keeping wobbling. So if we are going to keep on wobbling, somewhere we need to stabilize, otherwise we will be in trouble. So to summarize our learning today, we had 3 sets of reflections that we discussed today. The first set of reflection is about ignorance versus false ego. Ignorance versus false ego is something that we need to know about it, and you not knowing about it is actually a crime. I cannot say at any point in time, because I was ignorant, I should be given a leeway. Ignorance is no excuse. Ignorance of law cannot be an excuse, whether it is law of land or law of Lord. So we discussed about the first reflection on ignorance versus false ego. How ego meaning edging God out. And because of somebody being ignorant, he is egoistic, thinking that I am the doer and all the credit goes to me. And something did not go well, somebody else to be blamed. So that ignorance and that false ego will actually put that person in a risky proposition that he will edge God out. So we discussed about how one should be very much wary about this point, and how one should be making sure that he is somehow or other utilizes his intelligence, the independence, and the opportunities that comes his way to come out of the stage of ignorance and try to switch towards reality, to switch towards the righteousness. And Prabhupada, Sukadeva Goswami explains that somebody being ignorant, somebody swinging towards mode of ignorance, are going to be punished. Because if somebody is in the mode of ignorance and performs action out of madness, he is going to be punished, but his punishment is going to be mild. But somebody is in the mode of ignorance, and after knowing the differentiation between pious and impious activities, his punishment levels are bit intermediate. And if somebody is going to be in the mode of ignorance, and if he is going to remain in somebody is going to be in the mode of ignorance, at the same time he is impiously acting, then the punishment levels are severe. So because of ignorance, every living entity has been carried by various desires into thousands of different hellish planets. So that is why this hellish planets conversation is opening up. So this is the first. So hence our whole focus is towards coming out of ignorance. That is why as practicing devotees, we have an edge because we have surrendered to Krishna. We are trying to surrender to Krishna. We are desiring to surrender to Krishna. We have some knowledge about Krishna. We have arms like something to do. So there is some hope of light. Because Prabhupada writes, this false ego is nescience. This ignorance is nescience. That's first reflection. Second reflection, we discussed about the karma, akarma, vikarma. So action and action that are, we classify into three types. One is actions that are supposed to be done as a routine, nitya karma. And second is called kamya karma, desired activities. And third is, those are emergency activities. And these are done according to one's prescribed nature, and depends upon right action or wrong action, he will be rewarded or punishment. Karma is capricious or actions without the sanction of authority. Karma can also have bad outcome, but you may be still under authority. Maybe I may be selling some products which are illegal, but illegal meaning they are legal, but they are not in the law of Lord, as they're sinful. So from that perspective, the reward and punishment varies in terms of karma. But karma is without the sanction of authority. You are trying to do something illegal. And akarma is about actions that are done, which can take you away from the cycle of birth and death. So Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita that if somebody has right amount of knowledge about who am I, what is the resultant action and reaction in this world, and with that proper knowledge if they function, then the action will not bind him, and he is considered as a pandita, learned person. And the third aspect that we discussed is about the pavarga, and as a part of pavarga, we defined how a person's hard labor leads to his being completely maxed out in this world, which will eventually put him into a stage of bondage, and bondage leads him to fear, and fear leads eventually he dies in fear. And this Kala Chakra, he keeps on rotating in this material world cycle. Rather than Apavarga, if somebody surrenders to Krishna, take shelter of Krishna, take shelter of Rishikesha, then he has some hope in this material world. So this, with this, all the basic concepts associated with respect to punishments and purification are touched upon. So we look at all the concepts that we have touched in the last 3 sessions. These are all the foundational brick and mortar, because as I said, there are 8 different types of punishments in 3 different classifications. From Srimad Bhagavatam, I had put my thoughts together. So we will take that up in our next class. I thought we will be having some time today. So all the basic concepts, right from the basic understanding of who am I, what am I supposed to do, till the level of our action reactions. So we have touched upon around 10 different important aspects, which are basic ingredients for us to understand this topic of punishments. So I'll stop here, and if there are any questions or comments, I'll take it up. And as I said, I have half made my notes, presentation on this. I will definitely, share these notes in the group, hopefully before the next class, because today evening I'm leaving for Vrindavan. Please bless me so that I get to enter the Dham in right consciousness. Somehow I got the ticket, so which means so far so good. So till I sit in the train, make it to the Dham, so many situations might come up. So Krishna has his own plan. So we have a good fortune of going to Vrindavan Dham, and 3 days I'll be in Vrindavan Dham. I'll try and see before next session, try to send the notes. Otherwise, probably the next class, I will try to in the next session to give this combined. Hare Krishna. Are there any questions, comments, reflections? We're happy to respond.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. And so happy to know that you are going to Vrindavan Dham, and definitely we'll offer our prayers that you reach safely the Dham of Srimati Radharani. So thank you so much, Prabhuji. And wonderful session. Just one thing, you were talking about the 3 types of karmas, that is Nitya karmas, Kamya karmas, and the third you were telling about the emergency. So the emergency karmas is what we should understand as naimittic karmas.
Yeah, basically it is something that as a part of emergency duties are something for which.
Is there any Sanskrit word to it? Or
I forgot about that. That's why I'm not able to.
okay.
So I will try to get that what the exact Sanskrit word is. But these emergency duties are something that I can't escape. I'm supposed to do it, and it is stuffed up on me because of my existence. Because I can or whatever who I am supposed to. If suppose somebody is fainting, somebody is in health condition, or somebody is dying, or somebody is been attacked by someone. So there are certain things that you do at that time. Acha bura bala nahi dekha jata. Like recently there was an attack in Bangladesh. So at that time, devotees may have to retaliate, respond, or try to give some corrective actions. That time the code of conduct is slightly redefined. Oh, shant rahiye, aisa nahi bol sakta. So maybe there are other scholars in the group may can answer what is the third emergency duties definition, but this all I remember.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Yes, Preeti Rasni Mataji, please go ahead.
Krishna Prabhu, thank you for the very interesting class. Prabhu, as you were talking about the Pavarga Papabama, you said how from Parishram we go to Phena, but then how does Phena result in Bandhan? That part I don't understand. Because from Bandhan to Bhaya and Bhaya to Mrityu, okay, there is some connection. But how did Phena result in the next birth, which is Bandhana?
What Prabhupada explains is that just because I am still in my false ego, I will not want to give up anything that I have done. So I slogged it out. I will definitely get it. So because I have done this. I have done this. So there is when the word I, me, mine is attached, the stick pad is put on that. There's something. So it's very interesting. In the next class, I was planning to discuss this in terms of where there is a shadow, because right now we are in a stage where we are not materialistic, but the vasana of the materialism is still superimposing on our Krishna consciousness. So at some time of the day, you think that am I a devotee or am I not? Am I a devotee? Am I not? Krishna, because of his bhavagrahi, is giving us the credit of a devotee. But if you see, some of our thinking and action is completely towards nonsense. Just because we accepted Krishna's supremacy, we are somewhat saved. So what happens is that because I worked hard, because I slogged it out, because I worked till my foam coming out of my mouth, I tried to say that ye mera hai. This is mine. I want to, own this up. I will not relinquish this. Can you imagine? Sometimes we even do service and we are so much attached to the service because I did that service. Because that is something that I perform. I mean, being attached to the service is different, that you should be attached because Guru has given you that service. But the insistence on the word I did it, makes that bondage intense. So Srila Prabhupada writes that because he is so much engrossed in that activity, that he tries to become attached to the results of that activity. Extreme attachment, or even an extent of extreme hatred also, because hatred is also one reason why we suffer. Hatred also is one reason why we fear. So this bondage is not just attachment, bondage is also hatred. So I may be extremely hating something or extremely being attached to something, because of which fear kicks in and because of which I die. Am I making some sense, Madhavi?
Yes, Prabhu, definitely. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So, Prabhuji, as you said about the emergency karmas, that acha bura nahi dekha jata, and then we have to address the need of the hour. Rachna Mataji is asking in this regard that there is a verse, Tulyanapi. That verse, no, that another verse. The devotees of the Lord are so forbearing that even though they are defamed, cheated, cursed, disturbed, neglected, or even killed, they are never inclined to avenge themselves. So, what about Kali personified trying to kill Dharma personified? What punishment did Kali personified receive?
Fantastic. So we were going to discuss this as one of the types of punishment in our next class. But then I will quickly respond here that if you see Lord Shiva punishing Daksha, or in this case Kali receiving punishment, it is about that they are causing disturbances to so many other people. So in the devotees of the Lord are so forbearing that even though they are defamed, cheated, cursed, disturbed, neglected, or even killed, they are never inclined to avenge themselves, because it is upon them. Parikshit Maharaj is not punishing Shringi, but Prithu Maharaj is trying to challenge Mother Earth. Lord Shiva is trying to kill Daksha. Lord Shiva could have killed or punished Daksha in 4th canto 2nd chapter, because in 4th canto 2nd chapter Daksha already insulted Lord Shiva left, right, center. Left, right, center, Daksha insulted Lord Shiva. Prabhupada writes there that Lord Shiva was in absolute sanity, been completely undisturbed. But when he came to a situation where his descendants, his followers, and if as an authority is not going to challenge that, then the authority of Lord Shiva will be questioned. That's why he, punished. So generally, when pain caused to the self, when pain caused to the individual soul, as a practicing devotee tolerates as an opportunity for purification. But the same tolerance is in absolute nil state when the pain is caused to anyone else. Does that answer, Mataji?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yes. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
Yes. So now, there's another thing on Veda base. When I was reading Mahabharata, the chapter Massacre at Night, where Ashwathama goes to the Pandava camp, it seems there is a incident where a strange being appeared, and it was Lord Shiva who gave him the sword with which was given to Ashwathama, by which he actually beheaded the 5 sons of the Draupadi. So I'm wondering, the way they say, Bhagavad Gita says the intricacies of karma is very hard to decipher. Similarly, looks like dharma is also very hard to decipher,
Yes, very much. And if you read Mahabharata without, Krishna consciousness backing, you may even question Krishna's integrity. Because we are studying Bhagavad Gita, we understood who Krishna is, and then studying Mahabharata, okay, you'll understand. Because we have already given, a conviction that Krishna is supreme, whatever he does and whatever does under his direction cannot be wrong, so we easily be able to give a judgment. Assume that we are judge and we do not have Krishna consciousness understanding. What do you think Krishna did to Karna? What do you think Krishna did to, Bhishma? What do you think Krishna did when Arjuna has to, he, kind of brought in the sunset, apparently to help Arjuna. So Mahabharata is such a twisted tale. So it is very important. That is why devotion is a much easier conversation than dharma. Dharma, it is easily followed when we are following in the footsteps of previous directed authorities. Otherwise, everybody will bring in a dharma. A person like Sukracharya is trying to address in 4th canto Srimad, 7th canto Srimad Bhagavatam, one of the reason why Bali Maharaj could win the demigods is because he has followed Sukracharya. He just obeyed the orders of the spiritual master. So even in the demoniac category, there are some regulations, there are some righteousness within their code of conduct. So dharma is a complex subject matter. And why did Lord Shiva do what he did? There are so many underlying undercurrents which I may not know all the context. But yes, to answer you that it is important that we have to get the Krishna conscious side of the understanding. That is why Prabhupada did a fantastic job. Suppose if Prabhupada has picked up, Daiva Varnashram Dharma as a project, and then Sankirtan Yuga Dharma later, look at the mess that we will all be in a sense that without proper Krishna conscious understanding. So Prabhupada was very intelligent, very scientific, following the footsteps of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He gave Yoga Dharma Harinam Sankirtan. He gave us Krishna consciousness. He gave the fixed constant point, and then the variable were discussed. So Harinam Sankirtan is, as Rachana Mataji is writing here, Sanatana Dharma for Kali Yuga is Sankirtan and water relief. So actually Yuga Dharma, Sanatana Dharma for us is to establish Srimad Bhagavatam and read Srimad Bhagavatam, and Yuga Dharma is Sankirtan, and both put together, is Bhagavatam and Srimad Bhagavatam and Harinam Sankirtan put together is also laced. So yes, Mataji, your point is right. It is complex. But the easiest way Dharma is practiced is by following in the footsteps of senior acharyas. Does it make sense, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Any other thoughts, comments?
Dear devotees, anyone has any reflections, any add-ons? Yes, Praladananda Prabhu, please go ahead. Praladananda Prabhu, can you unmute yourself?
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Then Pranam Mataji and then Pranam to Prabhuji also. This was really a very nice narration which parallels most of the devotees' life, those two boats and like that. So this was nice. And this happens, and in my life I have noticed. But the solace is very nicely given. Narad Muni says, Tyaktva sa dharmam charanam bhujam harer. भजन न पक्वथ पते तत्व यदि यत्र को अभद्र बुध मुष्य किम को आता तो भजताम सदन. That is one. And the other one is Bhagavan Krishna says, Name Bhakta Pranasyati. And I had heard one lecture by Dhanudhara Swami long back in 1996 and in New Jersey, Tobacco. He himself said that 5 people he has seen, all Westerns, they had left her Krishna consciousness. Right? And he saw them that, how they passed away with Krishna consciousness. And this is what, very impressive for me to hear that, how Bhagavan Krishna is so favorable for anyone who just takes shelter of his pure devotee like Sri Prabhupada. And, he protects us in such a nice way like that. So in my own life, I have seen many a time, the situations are like that. But Prabhupada Maharaj mercy and Bhagavan Krishna's protection is always there. So that's a little reflection I had. So thank you very much again, Prabhuji. Hari Bol.
Wonderful, Prabhu, and thank you for bringing that up. Actually, as practicing devotees, when we address these trivial topics, these topics of karma, these topics of punishments, these topics of action and reaction, modes of material nature, is very, very, if somebody questions saying that it is so boring, then let us go to some other Krishna Katha and some pastimes, which generally we are very interesting and very satisfying. But then if you have not got this Krishna conscious understanding and going to talk about the modes of material nature topic about karma, dharma, punishments, we would not get anywhere. So thanks to Srila Prabhupada, somebody has mentioned that day in the Bhakti Vaibhava group. So they were mentioning that Srila Prabhupada approached every topic, whether it was about soul, super soul, karma, action, modes, punishments, cosmology, every topic Srila Prabhupada approached with a flavor of devotion, to repeatedly help us to swing. Because that is why in our conversation, suppose for example, this whole topic about uncovering the signs of punishment, hellish planets, and other types of punishments, we can do very, very theoretical and completely go into this, and it will be really boring. So thanks to Prabhupada and thanks to you, Prahlad and Prabhu, that you brought in, because you said this. Whenever I think about this example of boat, I always gets the shloka Gato Mukundam Parihirte Kartyam, where Prabhupada explains that the boat of Krishna is so wonderful that actually the boat doesn't move, the ocean shrinks. So if he explains this to someone, people will laugh at us saying that you are crazy guys. But those devotees who have understood Krishna consciousness will understand, wow, the ocean shrinks, not the boat grows. So we just need to keep both the legs in the boat of Krishna. Then the ocean shrinks to the size of the calf's hoof print that we can, jump over. Yes, Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam ki jai. Thank you, Prabhu.
Also, Prabhuji, as you mentioned, Prabhupada has covered a wide range of topics. And, these 3 volumes I have is Siksamrita. Siksamrita by 3 volumes there. Prabhupada, different topics. And it's about 2,500 pages, all these 3 volumes. And any topic, you can refer to him and get his opinion. So that's also a really good thing. Thank you very much again, Prabhuji. Hari Bol.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Vishnu Priya Mataji gave a good try. Apat Kala Karma, emergency karma. I do not know. Apat Kala is emergency in Hindi, but I'm not sure if that's a word. I don't remember that as a Sanskrit word, but it's a good one. I don't remember.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I just heard long back Apatkala Karma. Like I remember.
Maybe you're right. As I said.
Yeah, even I'm not sure. That's why I asked you. Yeah.
No, I'm not able to recollect. So let's leave it there. In terms of the point of conversation is this. What is that take home? Bottom line take home message here is as practicing devotees, we are having multiple personality disorder. We as practicing devotees, we have a situation of swaying between two extremes, especially of sadhakas. I'm not talking about those who are in situated in the nishta ruchi wala category. But in terms of, so we need to be careful. We should not swing towards mode of ignorance. And if we swing towards mode of ignorance, and at least we should come out of it or try to take some corrective action. We are going to talk about that in the future sessions. About there's a concept called paschatapa. Prabhupada writes in teachings of Queen Kunti, in one of the lectures, Prabhupada says, just by doing repentance, you don't even need to do a corrective action. Just by repentance, the intensity of the situation is compromised, it is reduced. So the idea is that we need to make sure that our actions are not swinging towards mode of ignorance, and of course not even mode of passion. So if we can, dwell in mode of goodness, at least that's a good beginning point. So that's where the highlight is. If you see, consolidate all the three sessions, we are trying to drive home that as a point and trying to establish the foundation why somebody is punished. Thank you. Any thoughts, other comments, reflections?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for this nice class. Prabhuji, we were discussing about devotees and non-devotees dealing in a different way in case of punishment and purification. Prabhuji, we understand in case of non-devotees, the punishment is sometimes to make them realize, and they will be put into the situation that they cannot be in the right path. Correct, Prabhuji?
Yeah, so basically they are punished for, for three things. One is to actually give them the necessary, what do you call as, it's a deterrent. And second, it is also for them to learn so that they don't repeat it again. And third is punishments are given so that others learn from them. So the whole agenda of punishment is not just to whack on somebody's back. It is to also help somebody to make sure that they are, not doing the mistake again, and somebody else also don't do it.
Yes, Prabhu. But in case of devotees, if it is for purification, and if it's still that devotee sees that it doesn't see it as a purification and becomes an hindrance for his progress, is there a chance? Because always our plan will be wrong, but whatever this Lord is giving and the purification, that will be actually correct. But can it become, by chance, it diverts that person into the going away from Krishna?
It is like this, Mataji. It is like you taking medicine. I surrender to Krishna from the conditioned stage. First, I surrender to Krishna. I am taking a medicine. Nobody wants to take medicine, but medicines are apparently forced, apparently insisted that you have to take. So even if you have done this Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, what is the first stage of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti? That you are given rules, you are asked to, you are forced, please do it, somebody come after you and does that, and you may not like it. How many days we like to get up for Mangalarti, in our earlier days in Krishna consciousness. How many days we didn't like them. So that is why devotees are so wonderful, like our mother. When she's trying to give medicine, she's trying to give medicine along with some sweets, along with some, either before or after medicine, trying to allure us, give us chocolates or some distraction so that I take medicine. So when Krishna consciousness, whether it is forcefully done or whether it is willingly done, it is going to give you some good results in the beginning. But you cannot continue that as a stage forever. So if somebody is into Krishna consciousness, they didn't yet fully subscribe to Krishna consciousness, they are doing actions of Krishna consciousness only to begin with. They are still given some credit because surrender to Krishna is by any capacity. Some surrender by force or by choice, going to give them some results. Of course, the gradation may vary. Having said that, that's what we said. You continuing to remain in ignorance cannot be a choice. You cannot say that you can be ignorant because I'm ignorant. Somewhere or the other, an individual soul need to ask questions and try to come out of it. Did I answer your question? Maybe I'm not sure if I did.
Yes, Prabhuji, I understood the whether it is punishment or purification, the person has to try to come out of that ignorance.
Yes.
Otherwise, no. Yes.
And the point is, even if it is a force, even if you think that Krishna consciousness is boring, Krishna consciousness is too intense, Krishna consciousness is too difficult, still Krishna consciousness is going to give you, results. So initial days of Krishna consciousness, initial days meaning till I am convinced that Krishna consciousness is my solution. Still, I may have my longing for materialistic desire. Mataji, we have been in this material world for ages, for aeons, since time immemorial we are here. Itna asani se we will not forget about materialistic attachment unless our intensity in Krishna consciousness is intensified. So it's in our hands how deep or how shallow our journey is going to be. Radhanath Maharaj gave a fantastic example about red pine trees. So when he said that there are trees which grow very tall, but has got a very shallow roots. Even in the smallest wind, they may fall. So devotees may not, be very tall, but their roots are pretty good. So that is why Bhagavatam study or Bhagavad Gita study from cover to cover is encouraged, because step by step, stage by stage, consciousness by consciousness, we are being elevated. And by the time we reach 10th canto, if you have done systematic study and systematic association, there is a high hope that you would have covered all the basic cross-section of your consciousness tantrums and settled into some stable Krishna consciousness stage. So thank you so much and all the best.
Thank you.
Any other thoughts, comments?
Okay. If nothing is there, then thank you, Prabhuji. With your permission, we can end. But before we end, we again wish you all the best for your Vrindavan Yatra. Please pray for all of us when you reach Dham. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you for your association. Okay, dear devotees, thank you so much for all of your wonderful association. And see you all next Wednesday. Yes, Prabhu? Next Wednesday?
Yes.
Perfect. So next Wednesday, we'll continue with our 4th session. So let's pay obeisances to all the Vaishnavas. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhaivacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai, Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, His Grace Ramagiridhari Prabhu ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Thank you all.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, dear devotees, I'm ending the call. Hari Bol.